Greetings, everyone. It is your boy, Green Knight, and today I'm here with a little bit of a tree. Now, I realize me just showing off my art on my YouTube channel isn't gonna cut it off anymore. But I decided instead to put my own little bit of a spin on things. This is What If Professor Oak Switched the Starters? For my unique series, I'll be basing it off the Legend Arceus series. But I know when it comes to Ash, that'll be a little bit more tricky, but I'm gonna save that for later. For this story, I'm also gonna add an original OC of mine named Dex Shadow. He's he's Ash's twin brother. They don't look the same, but they overall have a lot of similar characteristics. I'm looking forward to diving into the story and trying out this new venture. And hopefully if there's enough likes or popularity for this type of series, I'll be able to keep it going and, make a lot more of this stuff. Now, for most of this series, I will be using my artwork now and again if I feel like I need to or if I already have it. But for the most part, I use anime vectors and alright. All rights and ownership for the Pokemon series, including for the artwork, for the most part, goes to its original creators. I am not the inventor of Pokemon, I am just telling my own version of it. And with that, let's set the scene for What If Professor Oak Switched the Starters? I hope you all enjoy, because this is gonna be a good one. We begin our story in the town that is known as Pallet Town, as two young boys are waking up and rushing from their household. This is the story of these two very boys. Ash Ketchum of Pallet Town and his twin brother, Dex Ketchum. As these two boys are running over to Professor Oak's lab, Dex is yelling at his brother for breaking their alarm clock. He really did want to wake up early to get to choose his starter, and now he's afraid that Gary Oak is going to rub it in their faces. As a very familiar man walks down from the stairs of his labs to greet the two boys for the start of their journeys. Professor Oak informed the two boys that Gary Oak had already left long ago, with his starter along with the others. Dex was even more upset, but he was thankful he didn't have to hear Gary's annoying voice. As the pair walk up to the lab, Dex is excited, thinking of what possibly his starter could be, as these starters weren't native to Kanto, but other regions. As they start heading up to the lab, Professor Oak explains the reasons why he did the Starter Switch program in the first place. He wanted to see how trainers would develop from different starters from different regions in the Kanto region. It was mainly for fun and all that, but also to see how far different trainers would go with their Pokédexes, since all these Pokemon wouldn't technically be registered in their current Pokédexes and would be very much unknown to them. Professor Oak explains this dream like in canon, as so far the boys just look at the three Pokemon, each imagining what their starters can possibly look like, as Professor Oak takes his time grabbing each singular Pokeball one by one, slowly grasping it into his hand. As he released each starter from their Pokeballs, showing them off to the trainers, as Professor Oak was worried about the third one. Out came a young, shiny Chespin. And then out came the second one, a fiery, shiny Litten, as it looks around for its surroundings. And then the third one didn't seem too pleased It was a regular Pikachu. The boys stared at the three Pokeballs, trying to decide which Pokemon they wanted. As Ash grabbed the Pokeball for Pikachu, it was clear the mouse Pokemon didn't like the thought of him being his trainer. As Oak explained its history of this Pikachu, Ash was a bit saddened by this. But Dex, without hesitation of his own, and thinking this starter could be useful on his team, he chose the shiny Litten, while Ash decided to choose the shiny Chespin. Professor Oak says, "While I normally don't do this, I am willing to give you one of the boys the third Pokemon, because I am just going to release it anyway since this Pokemon is rowdy and really doesn't like to listen to any trainers. So, which one of you wants this Pikachu? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Otherwise, I will release this Pikachu." Ash was a little bit more hesitant on taking Pikachu in this timeline due to their bad first encounter and rejection. So, in this version of the Pokemon world, instead of Ash Ketchum teaming up with Pikachu, in this universe, Dex decides to take the young Pokemon under his wing, grasping its Pokeball in his hand. He had a few ideas in his mind, mainly the opportunity to have two starters instead of one, as he looked at the Pikachu. Granted, yes, it was very stubborn and didn't like to listen to anyone, and most importantly, go into a Pokeball. But if he could train it right, he could have a major advantage, especially over Gary, not only getting one, but two starters. There was no way he could pass up this opportunity. As he held Pikachu's Pokeball in his hand, Professor Oak looks at the young boy, asking if he's sure if he really wants this Pikachu in particular, because he wasn't planning on doing any takebacks from here on out, for this Pokemon would be his unless he released it or traded it off. But Dex was very determined, as Oak sighs, handing both the pair of boys their first set of Pokeballs and Pokédex to start off their journeys through the Kanto region. As they both set off. As the boys set off on their journeys, they slowly bond with their Pokemon. Chespin wasn't exactly a serious fighter, but more of a lazy boy. While Dex's shiny Litten was a very serious Pokemon, always craving battle, and did like to keep to himself, only really sticking with Dex throughout most of the journey, being kind of like a solitary. But unlike Pikachu, Litten was more open of the idea of listening to Dex, while Pikachu was very stubborn and not willing to listen to any of Dex's commands at all. As in this timeline, instead of not being able to catch that Pidgey, in this timeline, Ash does be able to catch that Pidgey. While Chespin wasn't exactly the most active Pokemon in the world, it would at the very least listen to Ash's commands. At the very least, to make him be quiet and stop giving it orders, since it just mainly wanted to nap. To make sure he didn't get one up by his brother, Dex decided to catch that Fearow that Ash originally threw a rock at. Dex was very proud of himself for so far. Not only did he have 2 Pokemon, but he had 3 already under his belt at the beginning of his journey. But Pikachu still wouldn't go in his Pokeball and still wouldn't listen. But Dex was a lot more stubborn and had a lot more anger issues compared to Ash, and wasn't really having it with his own Pokemon. And after stubbornly trying to make Pikachu come down from a tree, Dex was getting more angry and more furious by the second. He threw a rock at Pikachu, but unfortunately for him, Pikachu blocked it with its tail, and it hits another Spearow. Despite the fact he caught the original Spearow that got hit, it just ended up hitting another one and causing the whole scene where the Spearow chasing both of them. As the pair began to run, Ash yells at his brother, wondering what he was thinking. As for once in his life, Dex is the one having to apologize to Ash, as this is usually the other way around between the pair. As he apologizes to Pikachu as well for losing his cool. While Dex did get angry at times, most of the time he was usually cool-headed despite his anger issues. He legitimately did want to get close to Pikachu as the horde overwhelmed them and pecked them. Dex defended both his brother and their Pokemon, telling Ash to take them to the Pokemon Center and to run. The whole bike thing and the lightning happens like in canon, only just with Dex. After Pikachu launches its lightning, it looks at its trainer with calming and more calmed eyes. Pikachu still had issues with Dex, but he was willing to be more close with him and to at least listen. As Dex stared at Pikachu, he was a bit upset with himself for how he acted earlier, especially with his anger. Dex never really liked getting angry at all. And today, he just had so much on his mind, mainly with Gary. Gary was always a constant in Dex's mind, always surpassing them, always mocking them, and always insulting them. But Dex did learn something after all of this experience. He realized he can't always get this upset when it comes to Gary. Gary wasn't here right now, only himself, his brother, and their Pokemon. As Dex took in a deep breath, he vowed to himself he wouldn't let his anger cloud his judgment so much anymore, especially when it came to Gary, as both of them head to the Pokemon Center. As the pair head for the Pokemon Center with a badly damaged bike and a possibly angry girl on their tail for taking it in the first place, the pair kind of joke around a bit with the situation as they take their Pokemon rushing over there about how for once Dex was the one who lost his cool, not Ash. The pair always had a very good relationship, besides not always getting along. While Dex did have his anger issues and didn't mind being himself around Ash, he was usually very reclusive and all that, especially around strangers. As they made their way into the Pokemon Center, they checked in all of their Pokemon, including Pikachu. As a certain rocket gang began to enter inside, it was Jesse, James, and Meowth. And guys, not gonna lie, I kind of don't really like Team Rocket, so I'm not really gonna go into detail into this. Well, already detail as I've already gone. Ash and Dex slowly take out their Pokemon that were healed from Nurse Joy and defeat the pair like in canon, sending them blasting off again as the pair were starting to feel pretty tired from this long day. Turns until a certain orange-haired girl showed up within the center. It took Misty a while, but she eventually did catch up with the pair, yelling at them both for the damage of her bike as they both explained. As she said to both Ash and eventually Dex, that the pair would eventually have to pay her back as she would go along with their journey for now. Ash mainly talked to Misty the most as Dex was just mostly silent, taking her message in. Dex wasn't really the talkative type when it came to strangers. Besides his Pokemon, he wasn't really comfortable. And if he would want to say something to Misty, he would say it through Ash because Ash was better with being social than him. As the pair rest up for the night, the next day, they head out for their journey. Well, guys, that is part 1 of What If Professor Oak Switched the Starters. This is just the first part to the story, and I'll try to get a lot better with my storytelling as I go on through the story. But there are a few things I'm going to explain before ending the video. Number 1, yes, I am still a little bit sick, hence the coughing. Number 2, why did I decide to switch Pikachu with Dex and ended up keeping it with Ash? Well, to put it simply, I just wanted to change things a little. I already know what someone's gonna say in the comments down below. But Green Knight, you're just favoring one of your OCs. You're not being original at all. Unsubscribe! And yes, I stole that from Masako X. Sue me. Anyone can say unsubscribe. But the point is, I made this change because I already know with Pikachu and Ash's dynamic. I just want to see how their dynamic would be with my character instead of his. Ash is still going to be an important main character, definitely. Don't get me wrong, I just decided to change things up with their teams and all of that because I wanted to add something new between the pair. After all, they're going to be the main characters of this series, and I plan on taking this all the way up to the latest season. This is going to be my main what if for so far throughout my channel. And then another thing, why did I give not only Ash, but Dex shinies? I only did this for one reason and one reason only. So later down in the series, I don't have to see so many of the same type of color Pokemon so I could basically tell the difference. If it makes you all feel any better, after this, neither Dex or Ash will get any more shiny Pokemon, except for Ash down the line for a shiny Pokemon he already originally owned in canon. Besides that, that's it. I don't plan on spamming the shinies and all that. This was just a once in a lifetime thing I'm gonna do for this specific what if. If I make another one in the future, I'm not gonna do that again. Overall, have a great day, everyone. This is your boy, Green Knight, signing off.